Welcome to a beginner level MERN Stack app tutorial. By the end of this series, you will be able to deploy your own application on DigitalOcean or AWS. We'll be building the back end of the application first using Express and end using React.js later on. Before getting started, I would like to talk about the structure or the directory structure of our React.js application, because that is where most people get confused as to what goes where. So I have created a directory called demo app MERN, and inside that we'll be populating it with the following 4 files and folders. The folder called client will store everything that is related to front end and React.js, so we are not going to concern ourselves with that as of now. Whereas we'll be building the following 3 files and folders in the present tutorial. We'll open our terminal and first of all check if we have Node.js installed in our system. If you do not have this dependency installed, then you can look at the link in the description. So I have it installed, so I'll start with building the package.json file because it can be considered as the first step for any MERN application. So I'll say npm init and enter. If you are happy with the name that is specified within the brackets, then you can simply press enter, and if you are not happy, then you can type something and change the name accordingly. So I'll write some description like my first app. In the package.json file, the entry point is the most important parameter because it says that where the application will look for the source file for the express part. So basically, right now it says that index.js will be the entry point for our application, and index.js will be the place where we'll be writing all the express code. So I'm happy with the name, so I'll say enter. All these options are not necessary, so I'm just pressing enter. Here you can say my name as in your name, and license is ISC, and I'm happy with everything. So is this okay? Yes. Now you can see package.json was created. A few people find this step tedious, so there is a shortcut around this process. So let me delete this file currently. So instead of saying npm init, this time I'm going to say npm init -y. So it will populate your package.json file with the default parameters, and you will get the necessary fields filled. And as you can see, the main is index.js. So we'll create this file so that we can write our express code there. In order to use Express, we'll have to install it as a dependency for our application. So we'll say npm I express. Express is a middleware that handles all the backend functionality for our MERN app. So you can see it's installed. If we go and check in package.json, so you can see in the dependencies section we have Express installed with its version number mentioned. So yeah, this is done. Also, if you look at the directory structure, it looks somewhat like what we said in the start of the video. It has index.js, package.json, and node modules. So we'll first need to import Express in order to use it. So we'll provide it a name. We'll call it Express, and we'll say require Express. Once this is done, we'll invoke it, or rather create an instance for us to use, and we'll call that instance as app. Now app is the keyword that we'll be using to refer the functionality in the code that we write from here on. Since this is a server and it will run on a port, we need to specify a port also. So we'll say 4000. Now we'll ask the app to listen on the following port. So we'll write app.listen and we'll specify the port variable. We also wanted to print something on the terminal if it is running successfully. So we'll write console.log and we'll say running on port, and we'll specify the port number, or rather the port variable. So now this code says listen on port 4000, and if it's running correctly, then print running on port 4000 in the terminal here. Let's do that and check if it's running. It's showing some error. Okay, it says EADDR in use. That means this port is currently being used by some process on our system, so we'll change this to something like, say, 5000. We'll save our app and we'll run it once again. So now it's running and it says running on port 5000. But how do we know whether our server is running for the browser as well? So we want to send something from our server to the browser so that we can rest assured. So I'll stop the server using Control-C. Now I'll use the app keyword once again and say app dot, and here we can see there are multiple options. So we'll choose get because we are going to send a get request to the browser. Now we need to specify for what route do we want this request to get triggered. So we'll say we want to trigger this for the route. This function takes two parameters. One is the path for which we want it to trigger, and the next part is the request response body. So since Express is a middleware, it takes request response objects which are used for interacting with the browser. So we'll say request response, and this is a callback function. So we are specifying what do we want to send on the browser when this route is hit. So we'll say res.send the backend is working. Okay, so we have written this code, and now we'll save the file and run the app once again. We'll say node index.js. Now it's running on 5000. Now let's check on the browser. So since it's running on localhost, we'll say localhost, and it's not 3000 but it's 5000, and we want to hit the route called root. So we'll say / and we say enter. So it says the backend is working, which is the message we wrote over here. So the Express part for this tutorial is done. In the next part, we'll be looking at how we can use MongoDB. So see you in the next one.